Hey, gorgeous! Happy Tuesday! It's Bex, and I'm here with another Tune Up Tuesday, here to support you in tuning your heart to the frequency of love. And today's Tune Up Tuesday is totally inspired by some of the work that my clients are doing, and honestly, like a dinner that I had with a friend of mine last week. So I speak with so many women from my community, and more often than not, I hear that we just feel like a failure in our love attraction journey, or we feel like something's wrong either with our system, our strategy, or with us, or with men, but something's broken. And I'm here to share with you that while sometimes there might be an issue, but more often than not, it's really just the filter in which that we're experiencing our life and our love attraction experiences. So I want to talk to you today about how to move out of that feeling of being a failure in love and move into this idea of actually, no, things are okay. Everything is great. And that I'm actually a success in love attraction, regardless of the circumstances, right? So if you've been following me for a while, you guys know that I work a lot with energy and a lot of the behind the scenes. I like to think of like, just like my little Mexico here, that there's a lot going on behind the curtain that is just out of our consciousness, that is beyond what we can see in our three-dimensional reality, right? Because we're putting our energy out there, we're working our manifestation powers, and we just don't have the insight into like what God's working on behind the scenes. So what I want to share with you today is, again, coming out of this place of feeling like a failure and moving into this place of feeling like a success, regardless of the circumstances. And what that for me comes down to is living in process versus living in outcome or goal orientation. And I've talked about this before, but I'm gonna give you a little bit of a new spin on it today. Hey guys, welcome. Hey Lori, hey Ashley, thanks for joining. I would also love to hear from you as I'm sharing. Let me know what's hitting home for you. What is like on fire? What's lighting you up? What's giving you electricity? What's giving you heat? And what can you commit to adopting into your own love attraction process that I'm dishing out? Anything landing for you? Let me know in the comments below, because I love hearing from you. Throw me a whole string of hearts if you're on fire with what I'm sharing, because that always helps me give you more life and give you more energy and more love and more of, just to dive deeper into what I'm sharing. So, yes, living in process versus living in outcome. So I've talked about this before, the difference between being goal-oriented and being process-oriented. Let me just break that down for you quickly. Being goal-oriented is like, okay, I'm going to find my man, and that's my goal. I'm going to find my husband. Go find my husband. And every single day that you don't find your husband, then you're setting yourself up to be a failure every single day that you don't hit that goal. Which now is not to say that you can't have a goal of meeting your husband. My God, like of course that's what your heart desires. That's what your heart is pulling in. But if you're setting out every single day that is your goal, and you're not meeting that goal every single day, then you're just setting yourself up to be a failure, and you're opening the door wide open for those feelings of failure to just like flood in and get at you every day. So the difference between being goal-oriented and then being process-oriented, you can still have a goal, but being process-oriented is that you have just a deeper attachment to how you're showing up in service to that goal, how you are doing differently, thinking differently, treating yourself differently, or behaving differently out there in the wilds of the world in the dating life. Awesome. Thanks for joining. Hey, loving all this. Loving all your comments. Thanks for chiming in. So there's a real strong parallel between masculine and feminine energy here too. If you haven't picked that up already, being goal-oriented and being really driven and focused on that goal is a very masculine way of doing things, versus being process-oriented, where we break it down and we celebrate and we recognize we're in reflection and we're in self-honoring and acknowledgement of like the micro decisions and the ways that we're doing differently, is a very feminine approach of doing things. So I talk a lot about releasing the attachment to the outcome of our actions. And this is the thing that came up in my dinner conversation with my friend of mine. So sweet. She is this remarkable woman that I know here locally, and she's really strong and powerful. Yet, in the time that I've known her, she's been overcoming an illness and battling chronic disease. So it's really, really beautiful to hear her talk about her new job and her new home and this race that she's been training for. Like, she's killing it, she's crushing it. Oh, and then she just slips in, I've been dating too. And she said it so casually, so neutrally, and I was like, whoa, stop the presses, tell me more. Because I'm hearing there's just like a really grounded note to your tone right now, and I'm just really curious. And she said, well, Bex, I've really been listening to a lot of the stuff that you talk about and a lot of your work, and for her, releasing the attachment to the outcome, that goal of like, oh, meet my husband, just releasing the attachment to that white knuckle grip. I talk about that a lot too, and really focusing on herself and honoring and celebrating how she's showing up has made all the difference for her. So I wrote about this in an email. I'll post it on Facebook tomorrow. But she, in fact, went out on a date and spotted this guy in a window before she went in and sat down with him, and immediately thought, oh, that's not the kind of guy I'm looking for. And she caught herself in that story. She checked herself and said, okay, well, what is it that I really want? And is that way of thinking in line with what I really want? Or is there a different decision that I can make right now? Is there a different, can I release that story and make a different choice? And for her, that was being process oriented. She just celebrated the fact that she reached for a different choice. Simply enough. Regardless of the outcome of what goes on with this guy, he ended up being a really great guy and they're still dating. That's beside the point. But what was really impactful for her in the moment was checking her story and shifting that, making a new decision. And that was the gold nugget for her day. That's what made her a success that day in her love attraction journey. Okay? It's just like bonus and cherries on top that he's a great guy. All right? So that's one way that we can be process oriented, and that is really focusing on these micro decisions. Are you falling into the gravitational black hole that is your old paradigm, the old way of thinking, men suck, relationships suck, I have to give up my life, or whatever your old paradigm story is? Are you falling into that gravitational black hole? Are you letting your thoughts just like take you away like a runaway freight train? Or are you pausing, recognizing, and shifting into the new story, the new paradigm, whatever the new belief system is? All right, because every single time you experience a micro decision like that, that is you transforming. All right, transformation, we think about, oh, I wake up and I'm transformed. But no, transformation happens every time we make one of those micro decisions. And that, when we can focus on that and celebrate ourselves for doing that, that is being process oriented. And that's what makes you a success every single day of your love attraction journey. Oh, ding, ding, ding. Can I get some hearts up in here? Okay, so that's one thing. There's this other big piece that I think is going to be hugely impactful for you too. Just raise your hand, throw me some hearts or thumbs up if you identify as a self-punisher or self-critical, self-judgmental, and if you are, thanks for throwing the hearts up. If you are, you fall into the camp of possibly like taking on the responsibility of your love life. Not that you're not supposed to take on responsibility, of course, you are the common denominator of your love life, but at the same time, there's only so much that we can actually own and take responsibility for. So what I mean by that is, the things that I hear from women in my community, and this is no filter, and I am not kidding, but I hear women say, like, I suck at this. I'm just not cut out for this. Or, I've just failed so many times. I have a hard time believing that I can attract great love. And first of all, my heart goes out to you if you identify with any of these statements, because those are very, very challenging to overcome, number one. And number two, they're really cutting you down. They're cutting away your confidence. They're leeching you of your power and your strength and your feminine magnetism, or whatever it is, that oomph, that je ne sais quoi that will attract your partner, right? So when we're in that self-judgment, you know, it's a little bit different than being goal-oriented, but we're really focusing on like what's wrong with me and like why I'm not performing or what, like just stripping ourselves of the power of doing differently, of making different decisions. Okay? And so if it's possible for you to recognize when we're doing that, and again, make a different decision. So there we are in micro decisions again, but recognize, oh crap, I just said that I suck at this. Like recognizing that moment, taking a deep breath. And then instead of going deeper into self-criticism, is it possible to conjure self-compassion? Is it possible to remember that you're a human being, like this beautifully imperfect, perfect, imperfect human being that has emotions, that has ups and downs and makes mistakes and falls and has huge triumphs and successes at the same time. But is it possible to shift from self-criticism into self-compassion, and instead of saying, God, I really suck at this, or man, I really f***ed that up, is it possible to be in those moments and say, wow, I am definitely on a learning curve here. Or, oh, well, I am learning a new skill. You know, it's such a different energy. Do you hear it? Do you hear the difference between those two? So I want you to be practicing these. Another great self-compassionate phrase that you could practice is, I don't know how yet. Capital Y-E-T. I actually have a friend who has the word yet like tattooed on her body as a reminder that we are evolutionary beings. We are always evolving, growing, shifting, transforming. So find those phrases. I don't know how yet. I am learning a new skill, or boy, I am on a learning curve. You know, and your relationship with learning, that's a whole other Tune-Up Tuesday that we might get into in another time. But, you know, and if you do have some resistance there, you can also kind of like, I like to kind of play with awe and amazement. Gosh, isn't it amazing that I have gotten by in my life all this time without learning this skill? You know, and in that way, it's not like I'm putting myself down, but I'm really just like in just amazement. Boy, it is just so amazing that I have made it 40 years and have not learned that skill. Well, it is time. Okay, so I hope that this has been super helpful, and I hope, my dear beauty heart, that this serves your love attraction process and it helps you pull out of that, that gutter feeling of I'm failing, I'm sucking at this is just the worst thing ever, and infuses your heart with the ways that you can just be totally in love with yourself along this journey, because attracting love and keeping it is not for the faint of heart. It is an evolutionary process. It is one of the most beautiful gifts of self-exploration that we have on this planet. And, you know, I honestly believe that once we attract that person, that is the cherries and the sprinkles on top of who we become in the process. That being the real gift. So I love you so much. I'm going to take just a quick moment to spin back through the comments. You guys are so sweet. Thank you so much. I love it. Ashley says she hears this from men all the time too, that self-critical piece. I'm imagining. I kind of missed it when it came up in the feed. Lori loves it. Yes, awesome. She says I rock. Thanks, doll. Appreciate it. You guys, I love you so much. Thank you for tuning in for another Tune-Up Tuesday. Hey, if you have a single lady friend that you hear her say, I suck at this, boy, this is the worst, or like whatever you hear the self-critical pieces, or if she feels like she's a failure because she's so in that goal orientation, please share this video with her. I know that she'll get a lot out of it, and she'll thank you for it too. You'll be the smart one in this picture. All right, ladies, I will see you again next week for another Tune-Up Tuesday. As always, I am totally open to your questions, scenarios, situations. Hit me up on Facebook with a private message, or shoot me an email at bex@bexburtoncoaching.com, and I would love to feature your question or scenario in a Tune-Up Tuesday. All right, have a great week, and know that your person is dreaming you up right now. Have a beautiful week. Bye-bye now.